I'm perplexed after this weekend of basketball for the Utah Jazz. Should I be more positive? Is the truth the real serum? What is it we should do? It's next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 pow.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps. We're also on YouTube. Jump aboard, jump in the comment section, be a part of the community. Thank you so much for being an everydayer and make this a part of your life. I cannot thank you enough for making Locked on Jazz your first listen today. Here's what we've got planned for today. It's a Monday, so we'll do Trends Monday. We'll discuss the weekend Jazz performance against the Toronto Raptors /805ers and the Philadelphia 76ers /Delaware Bluecoats, and see how we should feel about it. I am perplexed, as I said, so we'll dig into that. And we'll try to comp a little bit of what we're seeing out of our young players at this point of the season as well. Let me explain why I'm perplexed. Again, thank you to the everydayers who make Locked On everything that it is. And I probably should mention one of our good sponsors today as well, because that's actually why Locked On is what it is, and that's FanDuel, the official sports book of Locked On. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when they win a $5 bet. All right. I'm super perplexed. I can't figure out whether I don't think I'm bothered by the losses. Frankly, losing to Washington, Toronto, and Philadelphia, considering the standings and the impact of wins and losses right now, is a rather, frankly, impressive feat. And so the losses I don't think should bother me. And I probably don't have an entirely clear understanding of how much is being asked out of Keyonte George, Isaiah Collier, Cody Williams, Kyle Filipowski, and those players being in their first or second year in the NBA and not having any training wheels around them. Because that's really what John Collins and Colin Sexton and Lowry Markkanen are. They're training wheels. And so in this weekend, we pulled the training wheels off of our young players and basically said, yeah, go ride. And they were really, really wobbly, in my opinion. And maybe that's just fine. Maybe the truth is that asking young players, because frankly, when we were super wobbly, then you'd watch Washington or Toronto or Philadelphia, and they'd be super wobbly also. The only difference to me a little bit is when I look at who's playing for Washington or Philadelphia or Toronto. Well, Washington, I would say, actually looked just as wobbly. But when I look at who's playing last night for Philadelphia, those aren't future pieces. Maybe Justin Edwards, but Butler's played really, really well. Bona, Council, those are young people. Maybe Bona, he's a young developing piece. But those are guys that I feel like our guys should be able to kind of match up with and play with. Maybe that's unfair. Look at Toronto, AJ Lawson, Castleton, who they just signed, Shed, Battle, Roden. I feel like our guys should handle that. And Walker certainly did. Frankly, KJ Martin looked really, really good all week because he's just played enough and had that experience. And that's why I'm perplexed. It's actually KJ Martin kind of says, oh, well, maybe actually just time in the league matters here. But the other side of things, the understanding side of me says, They're super young. It's really hard. They had their training wheels taken off. They're getting increased roles. They have no safety net. They're only in the deep end. And at times, they're really struggling. And that's okay. And the other side of me says that the truth is that each of our young players is as close to being out of the league as they are in the league. I know they're our guys, and we love them, and we're excited for them, and we can sit here and I can do this show every day and only talk about their positives. But the truth is, if I go look at a draft from 4 years ago, 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, half the players, certainly half the players after drafted after 10th, are out of the league or have started the 1 year journey of hanging on for dear life. And so each of our guys who have done things that we should love and be excited about are actually as close to in the league as they are out of the league. And I saw a lot this weekend of things that get them out of the league. If I'm just being totally honest. Brice Sensabaugh, Keyonte George, Zach Collier, Kyle Filipowski, Cody Williams, 5 of the 6. Taylor's not playing. There was as much this weekend to me that said, uh-oh, as uh-huh. And again, maybe that's just the reality of growth and time and what you need. And I've always said, and they're so early in the process, I've always felt as though here's the process that we're going through. And this is where, like, look at Walker right now. Year one, you come into the league, you think you're the cat's meow. You just got drafted. Your resume is awesome. You've been the best player on the floor in almost any game you've ever played in, and now you're not. And you have 5 or 6 areas where you just get your ass kicked. And you go to the offseason, and you actually go work on those 5 or 6 areas where you just got your ass kicked. And you come back, and guess what happens the second year? You get your ass kicked again. Because the league's that good, and the players are that incredible. And then you go back in between years 2 and 3, and you go work on all the things that make you great. And every single one of these guys has something that makes them absolutely great, or they wouldn't be here. And I could do this show today completely on the things that makes them great. And there are some things to be really, really excited about on each one of them makes them great. Isaiah Collier's speed and vision, Kyle Filipowski's passing, court awareness, and frankly, his developing of skill, Keonte's athleticism, his guts. When he gets hot, he's really special. Brice's ability to go get a bucket. Like, we got Cody's length. Like, there are pieces of this puzzle. No one was wrong when they drafted these guys in any way, shape, or form. But there's also, so they go out of after year 2, they realize, oh, I have to figure out what it is I'm going to make my living with. Walker's done that. Rim defense, rebounding, physical strength. And you come back in year 3 having worked on all of your strengths, and then you figure out if you're an NBA player. So we are so early in the process, and you don't, as Will says, you don't want to stamp them. But honestly, there's as much, if I'm being totally like frank, I've seen a lot of what gets you out of the league as what keeps you in the league with these guys. Now, they might be exhausted, overwhelmed, completely fried, and being asked to play 30 minutes a night without any training wheels. And maybe it's not a fair time to evaluate, because at least they didn't roll over and die. On the other end, if I'm perfectly clear, and I'll dig into each individually here in the next segment, I would have liked in matchups of lesser resumed players, let's just call it that, if some of our guys had looked superior or more superior than they did over the last weekend. Okay? That might be, you might feel as though there's nothing dramatic. I'm not sensational here. I'm trying to be understanding, but I'm not going to lie to you. The overall feeling I walked away with this weekend is I saw as much as I did aha out of our guys. We'll talk about them next as we continue here on Locked On Jazz. The Monday edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross and in Logan, the Chevy trucks. Oh, the Silverado and the Colorado. Chevy makes trucks like nobody else, and Chevy has been doing it. It's Americana, right? Like it is Americana. Silverado, you're sitting up above the road, you're driving smooth, you've got the power at your hands. It's pretty awesome. And the SUV lineup is as solid as it comes. The Tahoe and the Suburban are the big daddies that we all know well. I like to refer to them as the Utah County Assault Vehicle. It's an old joke. It's not very funny anymore. And you also have the Blazer and the Trailblazer that have been redone over the last few years and are rolling along with the Equinox, which has been around for a long, long time. It's all at Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross and in Logan. If you're going to stop by, let's give you the VIP treatment you deserve by being a Locked On every day, or email me at dlock09@gmail.com and let us give you the VIP treatment you deserve over at Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross and in Logan. Today's show is also brought to you by DoorDash. They swoosh. You save with NBA code 50. It's been happening a little bit recently. NBA fans, when anytime a player drops 50 or more in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When a player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off any order, up to $10 the next day from noon till midnight. So, is it a game day feast? Is it a late night craving? Is it lunch on the go? Is it fueling your watch party for the next day? Whatever it might be, after an epic 50-point performance, you celebrate ordering wings, pizza, burgers, whatever, and you get up to $10 off if you're a Dash Pass member, and you get 50% off your next day order. Use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game. Eligible orders of participating merchants must have a Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. That's right, noon to midnight the day after the game, and it's exclusive to Dash Pass members, 9 a.m. Pacific to midnight Pacific after any 50-point performance, courtesy of DoorDash. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps. Thank you so much. And we have the new daily newsletter. All right, let's talk about the bright spot. We'll talk about it more during the week, is Kyle Filipowski shooting. And all of our guys have bright spots. And as I said, they're equally one step in the league as they are out of the league. So I went through the NBA rosters last night, trying to find a 7-footer that's really can't play the 5 defensively. Now, Kyle can get a lot stronger. He can hold his ground better. He can learn how to move laterally quicker. He can do the training program of our incredible strength and conditioning staff that Walker Kessler's been on and become better. He's not limited. But as of right now, he is a non-defensive 5 who's 7 feet tall. So that's Santi Aldama or Nikola Jovic of Miami. Okay, that would be great. Interestingly, they're both drafted at kind of the exact same spot in the draft. Nikola Jovic was the 27th pick. I think Santi Aldama was about the 28th pick. But otherwise, trying to find a 7-footer who is a non-defensive 7-footer is a little hard to come by. That's fine. It's a hard route, is all I'm saying. Most 7-footers' primary role is to defend. But the way that Flip has worked on a shot and what he's added, pretty fabulous. He outplayed Alex Sarr the other night on the offensive side, which was great. And you look at his offensive skills, he can do it. But when I try to find the 7-footer who's a non-defensive player, the other one I would throw out there actually is Naz Reid. Because Naz Reid's really a terrible defensive player. So Naz Reid's a possibility. So Naz Reid, Santi Aldama, or Nikola Jovic. Those are all great. Those are 24-minute a night rotation players in the NBA. That would be great. But that's where actually his minutes with Walker, I think, become really, really important. Because none of those are truly centers. Naz Reid's really terrible defensively. And Santi Aldama and Nikola Jovic in Miami play threes, three or four most of the time. So I feel like those are the best comps I can come up with right now. That's fine. Like, that's great. That's a win. And Kyle, frankly, this weekend might be the one who has shown far more Santi Aldama and Nikola Jovic, NBA player, than one step out of the league. Isaiah, who's been just brilliant and just fabulous with his passing and his energy and his fight and a breath of fresh air, and absolutely brought something to this team that was needed, has missed 10 straight three-point shots, and more importantly, has stopped taking them. Okay, that's not an option. There are not NBA point guards who don't shoot threes. And there aren't NBA point guards who don't make threes. So in the 22 games straight that Isaiah Collier started, he started and then didn't start and started and then didn't start for just like a little stretch. I can back this up. It won't change anything. I'll do both for you. Isaiah is shooting 23% from three on less than 3 attempts a game. If you want to back it up to like his first start, which was January 5th, he's shooting 26% from three on 2.8. It doesn't matter. So below 30% and 3 a game. That's Dennis Smith Jr., Elfrid Payton, Jordan McLaughlin. That's tough. Now, plenty of time to develop the shot, but it's probably got to get over 33%. But right now, the players whose trajectory Isaiah is on, and Isaiah's a better passer probably than Dennis Smith Jr. He didn't have a lot of that passing game. But they're pretty similar, frankly. And if you don't know who Dennis Smith Jr. is, that's not your fault at all. But let me tell you, Dennis Smith Jr. was a top 10 pick of the New York Knicks. Actually, maybe of the Dallas Mavericks, and then traded to New York later. Yeah, of the Dallas Mavericks. He was the 9th pick of the draft. And he started 69 games his rookie year. And he shot 39% from the field and 31% from three. And then 32 games into his second year, he got traded to New York, I think in the Kristaps Porzingis deal. And in his second year in the league, he shot 32% from three, and it looked hopeful. He was an incredible athlete who tore his ACL at college at NC State. But then he shot 29% from three, and then suddenly 23 games the next year got moved, and he has been out of the league this year now after really hanging on for the last few years. Brooklyn Charlotte, Portland, Detroit. So his last 4 years on a different team every year, and just, an interesting player. Says he's going to try out for the NFL. Really incredible physical specimen. 6'2", 205. A lot of similarities here. Nowhere near the assist player. Averaged 5 assists as a rookie. Nowhere near that kind of assist player. If you don't know Elfrid Payton was thought of as one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA. He was 6'3", 195. Elfrid Payton was the 10th pick. I mean, these are high draft picks. Originally by Orlando, and after I think he might have been drafted by the Pelicans and in a trade with Orlando. It doesn't matter. No, it was a different trade. So with the Pelicans, and he started 63 games his rookie year, shot 26% from three. Then the next year, he played 73 games, started 69, shot 33%. And then the next year, he played all 82 games, shot 27%, and then it was over. And then he started the bounce, and he's actually played 6 games again this year for Chicago and 7 games for New Orleans after being out of the league for 3 years. And, you get 4 or 5 years to try in this league, but then it comes. So that's Elfrid Payton and Dennis Smith Jr., and then Jordan McLaughlin's the small little guard that runs around and plays right now. TJ McConnell, I don't know that Collier can be that guy, but maybe. That would be the other comp of a really, really good passing, high assist, high energy guard that doesn't shoot it. So those two are tough, right? That's my point. And not to stamp any of them right now, but that it's hard. And the scouting report on Brice Sensabaugh right now is out, and they won't let him get to his right hand, and it's hard for him. And he's going to have to figure out the counter. I mean, he can really shoot it. He, nuzzled a few up the other night again. Again, all these guys have awesome skill. All these guys are terrific. All of them are good guys. All of them are trying. None of them are rolling over and dying. There's great things going on. But it's really hard. Brice has jumped from 39% shooting last year to 44% this year, and 30% from three and 30% from three to 38%. Pretty great. Pretty great. But it's hard. All right, touch on Keonte and Trends Monday as we continue on today's edition of Locked on Jazz. Good old friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sports book of Locked On, and they've upped the ante a little bit for you and have a great deal for you right now. So with March Madness here, FanDuel is giving you a chance to get into the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, even who's cutting down the nets, if you win your first $5 bet. So, who's your underdog? Do you love Drake? That story. Do you have Duke? You're just going to ride Duke and their dominant point differential the whole way? FanDuel app is easy and simple to use. When you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get into the college action all tournament long. FanDuel, official sports book of Locked On. And when you win a $5 bet, you get $200 in bonus bets from FanDuel. Thanks so much for tuning in to Locked On Jazz. So, Keonte is just a question of, and I just can't wait to watch him play between year 2 and year 3. He just doesn't look dramatically different to me as a player than he did a year ago. And that's how most guys look. That goes to the whole year 1 to year 2, year 2 to year 3. And right now he's a sub 40% shooter and sub 35 from 3. And other than Malik Monk and a few other rare circumstances, that's danger zone trending. You got to make your shots. Now, the great thing is since coming off the bench, he's taken 5 free throws a game. And so that's pretty terrific. And maybe if we had the roster a little differently right now, you just would never put Keonte in a position to play point guard ever again. Because when he comes in the game just goes to a halt. Isaiah's running, moving, he comes in, the game just goes to a halt. And maybe if we had it the way we could with a roster after the Patty Mills trade, there's no other point guard. You just would never have him play point guard ever again. And maybe if we can do that next year, we'll see an entirely different player. The key just works on his footwork off the move, continuing how to drive and get baskets, to play off the bench, play in the penalty. Those are the things that probably are all there that are the signs of his route to success. But as kind of the point of the show, these guys are all still 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I saw just as much 1 foot out as I did 1 foot in this weekend. I would like Key to have been more dominant against Ricky Council. I don't know if this is totally fair on my part. I would like him to have been more dominant against Jamal Shed or Jamison Battle or Jared Roden. And maybe this is me just being a homer that wants our guy to be better, but it feels as though Keonte should own Jared Butler and Ricky Council and Alex Reese and Jeff Doughton. And I know he had 25 by the time the night was over last night, but I also go to the third quarter when we were down 18, when that game was really over for all intents and purposes, and he was 4 of 13 and 0 of 5 from 3 with 1 rebound and 2 assists and 4 turnovers and minus 28. And I just don't think that should happen. Maybe that's unfair, that just no training wheels is that hard. Those are my thoughts. That was perplexing weekend to me. All right, let's do Trends Monday. Cleveland has won 10 straight. They have the best differential in the league. Oklahoma is second. The Warriors in the last 10 games are a plus 12. Boston is plus 8. Sacramento is plus 8. And Detroit's plus 6. So over the last 10 games, the hottest teams in the NBA overall are Cleveland, Oklahoma City, Golden State, Boston, Sacramento. The bottom are Charlotte, minus 19. They are not kidding around. Philadelphia, minus 11. Dallas, minus 10. Brooklyn, minus 9. And the Jazz at minus 8. San Antonio is joining the party at minus 7. And then the Knicks, by the way. Offensively, the hottest teams in the league over the last 10 games are Oklahoma City, which is crazy considering how great their defense is, Cleveland, Boston, Sacramento, and Indiana. Those 5 teams are all over 120 offensive rating. Warriors are right behind them. Teams that cannot score right now, Charlotte is a 101, and the next closest is a 107.6. That's Dallas. Brooklyn, New York cannot score right now, Toronto, and Washington. Best defensive team in the NBA right now is the Lakers at 106.1, then the Warriors, then Cleveland, then Milwaukee, and then Portland. Portland's 5-5 in the last 10. Phoenix is the worst defensive team in the league over the last 10, followed by San Antonio without Victor, 76ers, Atlanta, and Charlotte. Jazz are not in the worst of these groups. They've lost 8 of 10, but they have kind of generally avoided this. Looking over the last 2 weeks, the hottest team in the league will be very similar to kind of what we just saw, but with a little bit of difference. The hottest team in the league over the last 2 weeks is Sacramento. They've won 5 of 7. They're plus 16. Cleveland, Oklahoma City, then Golden State, and Minnesota. The Minnesota one's a bummer. We really want Minnesota to finish 9 or 10 with a chance of losing in that play-in game and giving us more lottery balls. The bottom teams in the last 2 weeks are Charlotte, Dallas, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, San Antonio, and New Orleans. Again, we're staying out of that group despite being 1-7 in that stretch. Number 1 offense is Phoenix over the last 7 games. That's interesting. They're 29th defensively, number 1 offense. Sacramento's number 2, Oklahoma City number 3, Cleveland 4, Boston 5. So Sacramento's offense with Zach LaVine instead of De'Aaron Fox has really clicked in and begun to get going. That's newsworthy. Phoenix's offense being that good is newsworthy also. The Knicks' offense being this bad is newsworthy. Charlotte, Dallas, New York, Toronto, Utah are the 5 worst offenses in the league recently. Defensively, the best team in the league is Sacramento. Then Detroit, Lakers, Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Golden State. Teams not defending: San Antonio, newsworthy. I mean, they're playing with intention. Phoenix, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, New Orleans, and Orlando. So Orlando's really worn out defensively, lost 5 of their last 6. That is Trends Monday. That is Locked on Jazz. I'd love your thoughts on today's show. I was just trying to be perfectly honest of where I sit after watching this weekend. Want your thoughts on it as well. Feel free to drop them in the comments section and follow us and subscribe to each of the program on audio or video. Please do on YouTube. Hit that bell button. I'm on all the socials at DLock09. And if you have not already signed up for the Locked on Jazz newsletter at lockedondaily.com, please do. Have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for tuning into Locked on Jazz. We now send you on video to the first ever national 24/7 channel, Locked on NBA, and on audio, check out Locked on NBA every game, every night with Locked on NBA Game Night.